I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 9th, 2017 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. If everyone would please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. My left is our Vice President, Gary Merrill. To my right is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis and our County Administrator, Farzan Ahmed. It's the last time we're going to be able to say that. So, and today's clerk is Sarah DeNova. We can begin.
Resolution number 17-1179, in the matter of approving the electronic record of the proceeding from regular meeting held November 6, 2017. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-1179. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner?
Aye.
We have no public or elected comment today, but that brings us to item number 4, honoring Delaware County employees for Veterans Day.
Morning, Commissioners. Lieutenant Commander Brian Gallagher, Executive Officer, European Command 0613, in this uniform. I am before you today, hopefully not to accept thanks or appreciation, and instead, on behalf of those that currently serve, I want to say thank you. I truly mean it, and will explain, as the reversal is probably confusing on Veterans Day. I have a unique insight into the changes on the views of those who have served 50 years ago. My father served in Vietnam from 1967 to 1968 during the Tet Offensive, 50 years ago. When I contrast our experiences, word comparisons such as hero versus baby killer, courageous versus murderer, pretty much describe the nutshell from what I have heard and what he heard. When I was deployed to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, my fellow servicemen and women had feces thrown at us from the inhabitants of the detention centers, whereas my father and his comrades had it thrown at them by members of the U.S. population upon returning home. My father still has issues from his time walking the rice paddies of Vietnam. He had avoided seeking help on medical issues caused by Agent Orange for years, as he did not want to relive those experiences. I remember when I was stationed aboard a submarine in Pearl Harbor and my parents came to visit one particular occurrence. While shopping in an outdoor market, many years after my father's service in Vietnam, he had a flashback due to the sights, smells, and sounds. He had to get out. I was startled, as it was the first time I had really experienced the effects of Vietnam. I knew previously of some residual effects, as growing up in rural Indiana, we did not have weapons around the house, nor did I grow up hunting. My father always said he did enough hunting overseas, but seeing this was different. When he was honorably discharged from the Army in 1969, there was no screening for PTSD, no serious medical inquiries, and most certainly no ticker tape parade. After all those years, the good news is he has recently taken a visit to the VA and is now taking advantage of programs they offer after much encouragement. I remember after I joined the military in 1992, he has always stated that his wish was that his son and all those that serve do not have to endure the same experiences as those during the Vietnam era. And his wish is still thriving today. When I was released from my recent deployment to Guantanamo Bay, it was almost annoying the number of medical and psychological exams I went through. Servicemen and women still get through with issues, but I do believe the military has placed a significant effort in trying to solve those problems, probably the most effort in the world today. If I had $1 for every time someone has thanked me for my service, I could pay for the renovation of the old courthouse. It has been truly humbling. You hear these same comments on the radio and on TV. Recently, 2 other officers and I went to lunch during drill weekend. Of course, we were in uniform as we were on military duty. When we went to pay the bill, it was already picked up by someone else, and they had already left to preclude us from stopping the person or thanking them. I have had to stop people from wanting to pay for items for me when in line in uniform. Instead, I tell them to help a lower-ranking enlisted that may be in line or to donate to the USO. The thanks and appreciation has not stopped while in public, but is extended here to work. I want to single out a couple of occurrences that people probably have not heard about. In March 2011, I was in Japan during the earthquake, tsunami, nuclear power plant crisis. I was set to come home a couple of days after the disaster hit. I have a background in nuclear disaster response due to my training on board the nuclear submarine, my science undergraduate degrees, and my time doing precisely this for the State of Ohio Emergency Management Agency, as the Perry Nuke Power Plant outside Cleveland is the exact same design as Fukushima. I immediately became the point person for the 3-star general on nuclear and radiological issues, involved in discussions and meetings far above my pay grade at the time due to the fast nature of the incident. I was, of course, extended several times and kept little communications back home as I was extremely busy and worked crazy hours. The commissioners at the time during session discussed my situation and stated in session the county would do whatever was needed to support me. County employees and EMA board members reached out to my family. I heard all about these occurrences when I returned home. When I returned, I was instructed to ease back into things. Because of the separation and the fear that my family had for my well-being while in Japan, a welcome back basket was created for my family, and items such as gift cards for restaurants and movies were included. I couldn't believe it. I had heard that Cindy Blair and others in HR, Terry, Sean, and others were the instigators. I want to say thanks. It really meant much to me. Cindy, if you were one of the main instigators, thanks. Before and after my most recent year-long deployment to Gitmo, again, people bent over backwards to assist me and look after my family. I know that Sean, Sandy, Bob, Patrick, Dawn, and many others reached out to either me or my family during this time. Farzan last year wanted me to spearhead a Veterans Day thanks and has always supported my military service, as do Dawn and Cy, on a continual basis. The commissioners have always provided support and have always come through in supporting military reservists. A couple of weeks ago, Mindy Owens asked me about my most recent short military stint, thanked me for my service, and stated she always enjoys hearing about my mission. John, Randy, Chad, and the rest of the guys at facilities welcomed me back and humored me by listening to my military endeavors. It would take forever for me to go through everyone at the county that has either thanked me for my service or taken an interest and commended me. Again, it is truly humbling and makes the mission easier, the family separation less difficult, knowing the family-type support from here at the county and the community. In closing, I would like for people to reflect on Veterans Day, on how far the country has come over 50 years in support of the military, veterans, and veterans' causes. I would also like for Vietnam veterans, especially those that like to keep quiet about the service, as they are probably the most in need, to be thanked for their service and encouraged that their service should be celebrated. Lastly, for myself personally, instead of receiving thanks, would sincerely like to thank all those that either supported me or other military members. Thank you.
Very well done, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Comments?
Thank
Are we allowed to say thank you, or are you going to be mad at us?
I want the other service members.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we will thank you for your service, and then, of course, all the other veterans that served, over the decades and through the various conflicts. And Saturday, obviously, is Veterans Day, and it's a very important time to reflect on those who have served, and the veterans in particular on that day. Having lived through the Vietnam era, I know exactly what you're talking about, how it was really disgraceful, how so many of the veterans were treated so badly, when they returned, and they were just being, good soldiers. So again, I recognize that. Now, thankfully, I think really the tide has turned, and that sort of treatment just doesn't occur anymore.
Right, that's what I wanted to get across was, how much things have changed over really a short period of time in 50 years.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to make sure that everybody, in the county heard thanks, because, I do a lot of things for the military, and without that support, it would be much harder.
Yeah. I know.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah,
Moving.
and your father and everyone as well.
How's your dad doing now?
He's doing better. You know, he still has, you know, instances from time to time, but he's, you know, that generation to where they just, you know, kind of kept things to themselves.
Sure.
Yep, and the military, you're right, the military has come a long way in recognizing that there are treatments available and needed to be
Right.
emphasized and made more accessible to help. Commissioner Merrill?
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. This is an important week. I think, as Commissioner Benton said, we've come a long ways, but I do think there's a group out there that doesn't get it. And I'll try to keep it non-political and just leave it at that.
I understand.
But, you know, my brother's in the Navy. I have two nephews, both at Fort Bragg, both officers. But one of the people I have the most respect for, and I think I've said this in some form in the past, is my father-in-law, who served in World War II. He was in underwater demolition. And I remember in the early years of dating my wife, my future wife, and just visiting, when he'd hear a loud sound, he would jump. And I know it had to do with being in those ships and everything that went on around him, and he would never talk about it. He was one of the finest men I've ever known. He'd do anything for anyone. And I think that's true of many, if not all, the veterans that at least I've come in contact with. I don't think we can say thank you enough. And it is something that's fairly common today, people showing appreciation, because I think they are trying to make up for mistakes of past generations. So thank you from me, and I know there's a Veterans Breakfast here in Delaware City Saturday morning, as well as a parade in the afternoon, I believe at 1 o'clock. And it's a great opportunity to come out, line the streets, and
Yes, sir.
say thank you.
Recognize everyone.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep, all right.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Okay. We're going.
Resolution number 17-1180, in the matter of proclaiming November as National Adoption Month 2017 in Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Dombrowski with Job and Family Services. So, as you know, many times I come before you and we talk about placement contracts and we talk about the kids we have to remove from their parents. Well, when we do that, we have to have a place where those kids get to go. And so we rely very heavily on our foster parents. And if we're very, very lucky, when we have to take permanent custody of a child, those foster parents can become their adoptive parents, so that we do make the lifelong connection for some of our kids. So I wanted to give you some statistics around the state of Ohio and in Delaware, and then I'm going to introduce you to a couple of our foster folks who have adopted some of our kids, so that you can hear from them directly on what their experience has been. So statewide in the state of Ohio right now, there's 2,600, roughly 2,700 kids in the foster system who are currently free for adoption. Of those 2,600 kids, 1,100 of them are age 13 or older. It is more difficult for us to place older kids than it is for us to place younger kids. So the emphasis this year statewide has been on adopting the older kids. All kids are important, but we have focused a little bit more on these older teens. Of those who are waiting to be adopted, their average length of stay in foster care is 4 years and 6 months. So, as you guys know, oftentimes kids change placements. There's a great amount of instability in their lives. They don't know where they're going to sleep from one night to the next. And so that 4 years and 6 months is an incredibly long time for a child. So in Delaware County currently, we have 22 licensed foster homes, and those are homes who are willing to consider the adoption route. We continue to work to recruit more. These individuals and these families accept children into their homes who have been abused and neglected, many who have been exposed to prenatal drug use, violent behavior. And what's interesting about these kids, when you have kids with physical disabilities, you can see those physical disabilities. Mental disabilities and the issues these kids have gone through don't surface oftentimes for years. And so these folks are taking in kids who their issues are not readily known, but yet they are willing to tackle those kids' issues and help these kids with their issues through time. Interestingly enough, they also, when we call them at 3 o'clock in the morning because we have to take a child, they actually pick up the phone. And so these guys willingly take our kids, give them love, give them the care that they need. And so I can't stress enough how important these folks are to our system and to the kids in our state. So This year in Delaware County, we will finalize 5 adoptions for kids who are in our custody. The oldest one, which we were really happy about, was 17 years old at the time that she was adopted, which is incredibly rare that you get a young lady who can be adopted at that age. That child, by the way, has gone on with her adoptive family. She's getting A's and B's in school now. She's now become active in school, so she's really thriving, which is terrific. Currently, we have 6 youths who are waiting for permanent families, and they range from the age of 11 to 15. So we continue to work on their behalf, and hopefully we'll get them adopted with fine folks like you will meet here in 1 second. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn Stacy, who is the supervisor who works with our adoptive folks, and she has worked very long with these guys and knows them certainly much better than I do.
Good morning. We have some bookmarks and some flyers about our adoption program, and I've been very lucky the 11 and a half years I've been here to work with both of these folks. We have Carrie Smith, who, with her husband Wes, adopted a sibling group of 3. They are all special needs kids. They went ahead and adopted a 4th half-sibling from another county, and we have Terry Beach, who adopted a young lady a few years ago. So I'm going to let them come up and tell their stories to you.
Hi, I'm Terry Beach. I was a little unprepared to really speak. Thank you, Lynn. Been a foster parent for 15 years, getting ready to recertify for 2 more years. I do have 2 adopted children, one from a kinship placement, one from a foster placement. I have one now that possibly will go to permanency and hope to adopt, even at my advanced age, a young child. I hope it keeps me young. But these kids do need the love and attention that we all give them, and I got the flyers about the older kids recently. I personally am going to take flyers to work, make copies of them, and put them in places where I think, other people may get the opportunity to see them and share them with other people. And it's just important work that we do, and I know that not everybody can do it, but there are lots of things that can be done to help facilitate that goal, and I hope that everybody is willing to participate in whatever level they can.
Gosh, could you tell us a little bit about your kids then? How old they are?
I have a 34-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 5-year-old right now.
Okay.
Oh, my.
Wow.
Probably one of the most interesting things was that when my 34-year-old was deploying to Afghanistan, my current 12-year-old was starting kindergarten. So I was having some really emotional times, going in different paths with different children, and that's kind of what happens when you have these kids in your home. You don't know what the next day, the next week, the next month is going to bring. So you have to be really flexible.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Boy, thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Thank you. Very special.
So, hi, I'm Carrie Smith. Thanks for allowing me to be here. My husband Wesley wishes he could be here, but he's actually at a doctor's appointment that is required for our recertification next month. So that's why he's not here. So we started our journey in 2006. We became dual licensed foster adoptive parents in December of 2009. So we're coming up on our 8-year anniversary. Pretty quickly, we had 3 children placed with us, aged 5, 9, and 10 at the time. And we went through quite a process, eventually adopting them. And then our little surprise came along at birth. So we've now adopted 4. In some ways, we're just like a regular family. Last night, I went to bed and with a good book, and my 4-year-old crawls in my lap and snuggles up with me and then proceeded to vomit all over me in the book and bed. So I spent half the night changing sheets and cleaning us up in emergency baths. And then this morning I was up with 2 of my teens, making sure they remembered their lunch boxes and so on. And they spent the morning asking questions like, why isn't Washington, D.C. in Washington? And why is the tax bill called cut, cut, cut? It should be called cut, gut, clue. That makes much more sense. So these are the kinds of things we do just like ordinary families. But in other ways, there's nothing typical about us. And when Terry mentioned the flexibility, that's really important. I mean, we were talking a little bit about PTSD earlier. Adoption comes from a place of brokenness. Something has to go really wrong in order for something as beautiful as adoption to happen. And all of our children have been through various traumas. One of our children in particular has something called reactive attachment disorder, which is something that, maybe sounds made up. That might have been what I thought until I experienced it firsthand. It's a really serious condition that, because of the trauma of separation from a primary caregiver, actually causes brain damage. It actually stops the brain from developing certain points. And there's all sorts of special things that we have to do to care for her needs. She has to be in a very special therapy as a result. So if I could sort of sum it up, the finalization of adoption, as beautiful as that day is, it's not the end of a journey. It's the beginning of something that's very long and beautiful and difficult and very special. And we're so glad that we've been blessed with the opportunity to adopt, and with the support that we've gotten from Children's Services. They've been wonderful working with us, even in our post-adoption situations. And we really appreciate the support.
Oh, boy. Thank you so much for what you do.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Okay, so in recognition of both our kids and these wonderful families who do work for us, we are asking that you proclaim November as National Adoption Month 2017 in Delaware County.
We are glad to do that. And we have a signed resolution that is right here. There it is. And won't read it, but we'll certainly give it to you. And if you'd like to take a picture.
Sure.
Okay. And again, I'll say thank you to everyone. I know your group certainly does a good job of managing the program, but it takes the special hearts of the parents, who take the kids in who have been through such traumatic experiences, and and take them in permanently in many cases, which is just tremendous dedication and commitment. And I didn't adopt any, but we have 4 of our own. I can certainly relate to the evenings of trauma within oh boy, those days are gone. But anyway, again, thank you all so much, and we'll go ahead and approve the resolution.
Vote on motion 17-1180. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr.
Hi.
Benton?
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, we'll do a picture.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for coming. Thank you for what you do. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Gosh. Boy, do they deserve all
Yeah.
of
Oh, my goodness. Veterans and foster parents.
it. Oh, my gosh.
Had a couple of
Doesn't get any better
special
than that.
honorees
Yes.
this morning, that's for sure.
Very special. So true.
Okay. Sarah, we'll move on.
Resolution number 17-1181, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then and now certificates and payments of warrants and batch number CMA PR 1108.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 17-1181. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1182, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 17-1182. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1183, in the matter of approving a transfer of appropriation for emergency management.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion,
Morning, Commissioners. Sean Miller, Director, Delaware County Emergency Management. There is a slight error in the journal. I had wanted to move the funds from 5450, and I will defer if we need to delay. We can do that, but it references taking the funds from 5301 and sending them to 5201, but I wanted to take the funds from 5450 to 5301. So I apologize about that. If we need to postpone to another meeting, we can certainly do that, but I would like to...
Can we change it?
Just amend the resolution.
Yeah, we can amend the resolution.
Okay, yeah.
So that's okay, Si?
5450 to 5301.
I'll amend my motion.
And I second the amendment.
Okay. So,
I apologize about that.
oh, no problem. Okay. Further,
Mistake you've made?
What's that?
First mistake you've made?
No, I made plenty of them.
all right, I think we'll go ahead with that amendment, or that resolution as amended.
Yes.
Voting, I mean.
Vote on motion 17-1183. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Resolution number 17-1184, in the matter of approving a contract for services between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, the Delaware County Sheriff, and Lexipol Incorporated for consulting services and software regarding office policies.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Leslie Armstrong with Delaware County Sheriff's Office, the fiscal manager there. Just a little bit about this contract. It is, Delaware County Sheriff's Office is committed to providing the citizens of the county competent and consistent public safety services. The office is eager to begin a partnership with Lexipol, our current, and actually enhance our current standard operating policy procedures, implement best practices, and prepare the office for accreditation through CALEA, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. It is a unique software. It will not only assist the county in staying ahead of litigation trends, but will also communicate clear policies to all levels of our employees. It gives real-time informing. This policy and training software allows for seamless integration of legislative mandates, updates in statute, and will then alert all staff that changes in policy and procedures are not only needed, but required. Electronic signature capture also allows management regular auditing to ensure employees are executing best practices in our community. This comprehensive service is not only available through any other, it is not available through any other public or private resource or organization, and will be a necessary component as the office pursues accreditation. Questions?
What do we do today?
We currently have Policy Tech, and it is not real-time. It has not been reviewed by, this will actually have an opportunity where legal advisors will review our current policies as we begin the implementation. We do not have that in place right now.
So this would replace that system?
That's correct.
Okay. Questions? All
Sounds
right.
good.
Vote?
Vote on motion 17-1184. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Resolution number 17-1185, in the matter of approving a professional services agreement with Black & Beach Corporation to assess collection system odor control options.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Fromer, sanitary engineer. This currently in our system, we feed chemicals to control odors when our sewage is pumped through force mains and it releases into the manholes. We currently spend over $400,000 a year, and that's trending upward. I think that, obviously controlling odors is a very important part of our system, but I think that the technology and there's other technology and control mechanisms that can help us save substantially on these ongoing costs. The thing about these costs is they continue to rise, and as we add new stations, we add, so it's something that, in 10 years could be $1 million, so we want to try to get out in front of that and change the strategy there.
Okay. What kind of timeline on this, Mike?
It's about a 6-month process. They want to get the testing. There's a lot of chemical testing that needs to be done yet this before the winter comes, and then the analysis will be completed next spring, so.
Okay.
So the purpose of this is there different technologies, and there may be better technologies than we're currently employing?
There's technologies now where you just provide water and it creates a vapor. There's also, I think we could be a little bit more strategic on our dosing. We may, right now we pretty much apply a standard process to it, and I think there's some areas that we may not need to dose as much, so, but.
Okay. Sounds like a good study, and hopefully we'll have some financial savings without compromising the odor control issues.
Exactly. Oh, I could talk for 30 minutes about it, but I'm sure.
All right, we'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-1185. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1186, in the matter of approving a professional services agreement with Black and Beach Corporation for the Lower Scioto Water Reclamation Facility Assessment Project.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
As you I think know, Monday we will be turning the valve, so to speak, and flow will be headed to Lower Scioto. One of the components out there on the project is there's 2 odor control systems that basically takes care of the biosolids in the head of the plant. Those systems have not been in operation for 10 years. They're a mulch-based system where we need to bring in new media, and because once again, the mulch-type media was never utilized, and it goes bad after a while. So the initial analysis for Black and Beach will be to look at those odor control systems and to recommend, I think there'll be a recommended change in the way we're doing it from an operational standpoint. There's also some, as authorized in that contract, if other things arise, we're expecting some other operational challenges once we get going next week. So that's the contract. So you're noticing Black and Beach is very specialized in odor control and things of that nature. So.
Okay. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-1186. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1187, in the matter of accepting sanitary sewer improvements for Benmore Village, Section 3, and Glidmead, Section 1, Phase B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
These are standard subdivisions where the improvements have been completed, and we're recommending acceptance of the infrastructure.
All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-1187. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1188, in the matter of setting the bid date and time to receive bids for the 2018 ferric chloride chemical supply contract for the Delaware County Regional Sewer District, DC RSD contract number 18-01.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Ferric chloride is a chemical that we use to precipitate out phosphorus in our treatment units, and our contract for that service is up at the end of this year. We asked them to extend it. They said they would only for a cost increase, so we want to go ahead and bid out the chemical again. It's actually we use about 50,000 gallons a year, and it equates about $50,000 a year. So it's not a huge item compared to the other odor control, but so we're recommending to set the bid date and go out for bids on that.
Okay. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-1188. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1189, in the matter of setting the bid date and time to receive bids for 2018 various emulsion polymers chemical supply contract for the Delaware County Regional Sewer District, DC RSC contract number 18-02.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Same, we spend about, on this one it's a little less, about $35,000 a year. These are used to thicken our sludge, so. And today's been a real informative day on our odors and
It
our
has.
chemicals, isn't it? But, yeah, we're...
Things we take for granted, right?
Yeah, once again, recommending approval of the contract to go out for bid because our existing contract is expires at the end of this year.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-1189. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1190, in the matter of accepting sanitary sewer improvements for Clark Shaw Trunk Sewer Project 1, Clark Shaw Trunk Sewer Project 2, and Clark Shaw Trunk Sewer Project 3.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
These are the improvements that feed the lower Scioto. Just as reference, my first day of employment for the county, I was in a meeting with you all and the developer. I think there was legal staff in the afternoon, and the purpose of that meeting was to figure out how to complete the design and get the construction complete. So today we're recommending approval. The construction's complete of that infrastructure. So.
Yeah, I want to compliment you on getting these done. Again, these are very important strategic initiatives for us, for that whole corridor, that western central Delaware County corridor, Sawmill on the other side of the river and everything. So again, thank you for getting this done.
Yes.
Take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-1190. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
I do have one thing. You sit back down for a second, son. I was talking to Mike yesterday. We all three received a letter, an email a couple of days ago regarding somebody complaining about credit card payments on their sewer bill. And we have to do that for legal reasons. State law does not require us to. And I've called the gentleman because he did not have a phone number. I'm always reluctant to look up a number and call somebody if they don't provide a number. And he has, to this point, called me, but I was going to share that with him. But out of that, Mike and I had a conversation yesterday, and something that he would like to explore, and I think it's a great idea, and I just, with the blessing of my fellow commissioners, we do not have direct withdrawal from a bank account for sewer payments. At this stage, that ought to be something available to our customers. It's a way to do it rather than use credit cards. And he'd like to explore that, and with the blessing of the two of you, I think we should. And I just thought we'd get out in the open, have that conversation so he knows he can move forward.
Yeah, great idea.
I think efficiency and customer service can only be helped by this.
Yeah, we don't get a tremendous amount of complaints because of the rate, but we do get some, people would once again, we did the online statements recently, and just trying to evolve those practices, and I think that this will, some people have a hard time if they travel and scheduling payments, things like that. So I think this would be good to explore. I think we'll look at us, doing that, as well as maybe looking at, our, we use Delaware County Bank, or, as our deposit, maybe having them, with the information. But we'll explore it and get back to you on that, so.
It's a great idea.
Yes.
I think Mike's concern, and I'm not sure it's a legitimate concern, but it's a concern he'll explore, and you probably have a better feel for it. There are some people who are concerned about the confidentiality of providing those bank accounts, and I'm not sure how big a deal that is. It's a fairly common practice anymore, and you may have some thoughts on that you want to share with Mike later, or...
It is a concern, but it's done, just thousands and thousands of merchants have gone to online automatic deposit payments, and it's working very well. So there are, certainly there are security concerns, but the banks are very good at it.
Yeah, and I think we're a prime candidate because our rates don't, on the residential, it's the same, each year, unless we have rate increases, it's the same amount, So the amount is very consistent, so.
Right, yeah, the insurance industry was the leader in that, because they had, again, the same thing, monthly, same amount every day, or same day of every month. And it's worked very well. It's a win-win. It makes it easier for the merchant, makes it easier for the customer. It's a lower cost solution rather than processing checks or credit card payments. So,
We'll definitely take a look at it.
yeah, good idea. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Move on.
Resolution number 17-1191, in the matter of approving a transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Cy Kelly, Assistant County Administrator. We have received our first payment of the Medicaid local sales tax transition funding, and I'm requesting the funds be transferred to the general fund.
Okay.
Yeah, frustrating topic, but administratively, we need to do this. So, we'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-1191. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1192, in the matter of rescinding the Emergency Service Capital Projects Fund in accordance with ORC 5705.13.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
There has been no activity in the last 10 years for this fund, and I'm requesting the closure of the fund and the transfer of funds back to the general fund.
All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-1192. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Si.
Bring us to item number 18, the Administrator Reports.
Thank you. Good morning. If you recall, Commissioners, a few weeks ago, the Insurance Services Offices had downgraded our code compliance from a 9 to a 3 for commercial, and a 4 for residential. And the reason why they had done that is because at a national level, Ohio's standards had fallen behind. You may also recall a couple of weeks ago, Fred Fowler was here, and he mentioned that the state has adopted those national standards. As a result, we have been reclassified as Class 3 for commercial. So that's good news. This is not something that we control. We have to abide by state laws, and since the state standards have gone up, we are now back where we belong. Congratulations to Medic 9. This is the latest addition to the fleet. It's a brand spanking new ambulance, state of the art. I think it's a F550, I think is what they had posted.
That's a sport model?
Yeah, that's the sport model. It's got all the bells and whistles. But this is something you had approved earlier on this year, and it takes a while for these things to be delivered. And here it is.
Great.
I have thanked you individually, but I wanted to thank you publicly in public session. Started this journey out as your constituent, and I have voted for all three of you, I'm proud to say. And I want to say something about you, as condescending as it may sound. I am proud of the way that you guys do your jobs. I think of you as the humanitarian, you're the fiscal hawk, and you're the deal maker. And I mean that as a compliment. I mean that as a compliment for all three of you, because if you bring exactly the same thing to the team, you really don't have that much of a team, because there are things missing. When you bring different perspectives, then you really make a very comprehensive team. And the three of you bring those different perspectives. And I would love to see this continue for as long as this can continue, because you do a great job for your constituents, and I'll be one again soon. So that will be good for me as well. On a personal level, each one of you has taught me things that I'm going to take with me. What you learn from people is something that serves you for the rest of your life. And I've learned things from all of you, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this opportunity where you have treated me not as your employee, but as your friend. That's very, very kind of you. You're very kind people. People don't thank people for their kindness. They thank people for their professionalism. And with all due, my personal perspective, I'm a part-time philosopher. Everyone from where I come from is a part-time philosopher. Professionalism is overrated. Everybody's a professional because everybody has a profession. I think what's underrated in this world is kindness. Ordinary kindness that people show towards each other and towards others. And you guys are top-notch when it comes to the kindness scale. I also want to mention these two over here. This isn't easy. You see the finished product. What you don't see is the back and forth that goes on. And as you are aware, things change on a day-to-day basis, and it can get frustrated. And I think a lot of us have been frustrated, myself included, at different times, but not these two. It's always with a smile. So the fact that you three do your job so well has a lot to do with the fact that those two prepare you to do your job. So I just wanted to mention that to say something about them. Last but not the least, the people that I've been privileged to call my colleagues in this county, not just these guys, but also the people with whom we don't have that direct connection. your boss, our prosecutor, the judges, some of the other elected officials, people like George Kaitsa and Bauserman, who's an old buddy from the old days, and Rob Riley and those guys. What a pleasure it has been working with all of these people, and I'll be honest with you, I'm going to miss a lot of that. You don't get to pick the timing of the course that your life is going to take. Somebody else picks that timing for you, and I don't know if I could have picked an ideal time, but we all have dreams and we all have ambitions. I certainly have mine, and in order for me to pursue those things, I need to look in the direction in which I'm going to be looking. Going in with quite a bit of nervousness, not having done this ever in my life, and returning into the private sector after being in the public sector for a quarter of a century. But I have good intentions, and I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to have the good wishes of the people who have always been around me, and the rest is up to God. It will either work out, or God will show me a different path. But regardless, you have not heard the last of me. I'll be around, and I'll be interacting with you guys, and I'm going to stay in touch with these people that it has been my pleasure to get to know, and I think that will continue. And don't be too surprised if someday you see a 3-minute speaker session or something, and you say, oh, I know this guy. So thank you very much, Commissioners. Barb, Jeff, Gary, thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
Well, Commissioner Merrill, I think you're first.
Well, I'm going to, obviously, I was planning on saying something, and I think Fazan said a lot of it very well. You talked about philosophy. I wrote down here that somebody was going to say, life is a journey. And this is a different step in that journey for you. And I consider you a friend, as you well know, and we've had those conversations. And I expect great things will follow you as you move forward in your life and your career. And yes, you will hear from me, and I'm certain of the other two commissioners as well, because you're still part of the family, you're part of the county.
Yes.
You're one of the constituents that we try to serve and try to serve well, and so that family you're going to still be part of. But on a personal level, you're somebody I think a lot of and a lot about, and God bless you, and I wish you the best.
Oh, wow. Well, Fazan, it's been a real pleasure working with you. And I'll miss you, but I know we'll be working together again. Thank you.
Humanitarian.
Not doing real well here.
Yeah, well, I don't have a whole lot else to add. Everybody said it. Thank you. Thank you so much for the effort and the friendship and the leadership, and we all wish you the best. And we do. We really look forward to staying in touch and seeing how this new venture goes, and if we can work together as a citizen and elected officials, that'd be great. I'm sure you've always been active, and I imagine that'll continue. So, again, thank you all. Oh, sure. You want to do that now?
Boy, best. Boy. Oh,
Right here?
Right here, seated? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
The only thing I have is Mr. Bosman is having his I'm not sure what you call it, work session,
Trustee.
9 to 2 today, and then I'm going to attempt to make the luncheon if we get out in time today, because we obviously couldn't attend the event. We probably did on Thursday deliberately, so we couldn't be there. But I did plan on being there for the luncheon, and that's really all I have today.
Commissioner Lewis.
Oh, well, we had our brown bag lunch yesterday for our employee deductions, payroll deductions for both People in Need and United Way, and the commissioners were all there, and we just want to encourage all of our employees to sign up for, and if at all possible, no matter, the amount is totally up to you, but it's certainly, these two groups do such a great job in helping our less fortunate citizens, so I'd urge everybody to sign up, and that's it.
Okay. Just a couple of things. It seems like there's a lot going on. We've got Central Ohio Youth Center meeting today, and things are doing reasonably well there. They're in good shape, under good leadership. DKMM has a budget committee meeting next week, and they're at an important point where they're going to have to consider subsidizing, SIMS in Mid-Ohio, and to what extent, and so on. So there's some important strategic considerations for DKMM that the Budget Committee will consider, and then will be brought to the full board. We've got a 37 work session with NBBJ at 10:30. We won't quite make 10:30, but we'll be shortly thereafter. Going to the Sunbury Chamber dinner tonight. They're a very active chamber. I think you're going as well, Commissioner Merrill. Sunbury Chamber does a great job. It's not a very big Walnut Chamber. They're very active and do a lot of things in the community, a lot of good activities there. Couple levies, school board levies passed, Big Walnut and Delaware City. Those were important for both of those school districts. So it's voters are to be commended for supporting those school districts. And we've got Morpsey this afternoon. I know there was something else. Oh, and then we did do a Smart City visit. Commissioner Merrill and I went to the Smart City presentation on Tuesday. I guess, no, Monday. Tuesday.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
Today's Thursday. It was 2 days ago. It's an interesting group, interesting priorities. They're very focused on electric vehicles. I don't know how feasible all that is. They've got a lot of ideas and so on. But anyway, again, they're working very hard at trying to make the Columbus region a smarter, more technology enhanced community, which is a noble initiative. And that's it. We do have need for executive session.
Resolution number 17-1193, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment, compensation of a public employee or public official.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-1193. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
All right, we're in executive session. We'll be back soon. Yes.